Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking once more about that Saharan dust that is coming to the United States. We have a lot more info to go over on that subject. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Also be sure to check out our exciting Discord that we're doing a lot of work on. That's going to be in the pinned comment down below along with some of our other social media. Now for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what season do you anticipate most every single year out of all 4 seasons? Let me know in the comments down below, give me a reason why, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now to start things out, we're going to be sharing some photos from Angel, Cruz, and all the way from Puerto Rico. They shared these photos with us all the way from Puerto Rico because they had very, very dense dust there, very similar to what we're going to be experiencing in a lot of regions of the United States. And this is on a clear, sunny day there, and you can just see how hazy and almost, just a dusty color the sky is. You can really tell it's there. Here's another one, and this one was the most telling, I think, because you can see the sun straight through the dust, but you can just tell how hazy it is and just how dusty the sky and air actually is. This is what's coming to the United States, folks. I just want to let you know. And I did get a lot of comments on my previous video, and they did let me know this can lead to a lot of breathing difficulties. So if you have asthma, you're going to be especially prone to having difficulties with this, and also it can cause a lot of allergies as well, some irritation to the eyes and nose. Just wanted to let you guys know that because in last video I made about this, I didn't mention that. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to some actual model guidance here and just talk about when it's coming, where it's going to be, and how dense it could be. Alright, now first things first, here we are taking a look at, well, today, so I can show you how dense it was in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico there is obviously to the east of Dominican Republic and Haiti, and you can see it's basically in that white color. So is most of that area of the Caribbean. Basically, all you need to know is these white shades are where it is the most dense. The yellow is kind of a moderate density, and then the purples and blues are kind of a lower density. And then the very dark turquoise colors, that's where there's practically none. So in a purple type scenario, purple or lighter blues there, you're not really going to even notice it or see it. The yellows and oranges is where you start to see it. And then in the whites, that's what we saw in Puerto Rico, where it is it's very noticeable. Very, very noticeable. All right, now let's move it to about Wednesday morning. So we're moving on a couple of days from now, and you can see it will have reached a lot of portions in Mexico, and it will already be moving out of Puerto Rico. So this is going to be lasting a couple days everywhere it goes pretty much, and then moving out. So Puerto Rico, by this point, you probably won't be having visibility issues anymore by about 8 a.m. on Wednesday. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to where we're going to see it reach the United States and make impact with Texas and Louisiana first, and then it's going to completely spread from that point on to most of the southeast states. All right, and here we are taking a look at Wednesday evening, and you can see by this point it will be reaching the very southern tip of Texas there, as well as some regions in southern Louisiana. Including New Orleans probably by this point. And then you can see coastal Mississippi and Alabama are going to be kind of in those purple shades, which again, you might notice it a little bit, but nowhere near the yellows and the whites. Let's just go ahead and take it to about Thursday at 8 a.m. And I went ahead and zoomed on the entire United States here. And you can see basically now for the entire Gulf Coast, we're dealing with those whites. So the reason I'm calling this a major dust event in the title is because it's going to be more major than what we're definitely used to. Again, those conditions in the pictures in the beginning of the video are going to be reaching the United States. So that's a lot more major than any sort of dust event I've ever experienced here in the United States. And I think a lot of you are going to feel the same way about this. That's why I'm considering it a major dust event here, because it certainly will be. These whites, again, are where it's very high density, so they're reaching Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and portions of Florida as well by Thursday at about 8 a.m., like I said before. So let's just go ahead and take it to about Friday afternoon, and as you can see, it just completely takes over here. The whites are everywhere in Texas and eastern Texas there, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, all of these regions. All of Louisiana is taken over by those very dense white shades, which again is going to be where you're going to look in the sky if it's clear and you're going to see the dust. It's going to be completely noticeable. Nobody will not know that it's there, and it's going to be a major dust event as far as the United States is concerned. The person, Angel Cruz from Puerto Rico, said it is the worst visibility they've ever seen from dust. So that's probably what a lot of us in the United States are going to feel about this as well. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to about Saturday afternoon, where we're going to start to see it just invade more areas in the United States. It's going to reach all the way up to the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. All right, and by this point, you can see the whites have just completely spread over a giant region of the United States. By the time you're at Saturday morning, you're still going to be in Dallas-Fort Worth area, seeing, again, just those very bright whites, very extremely low visibility. Houston, same story. All of Louisiana still, and now all of Mississippi as well, all of Arkansas, most of Alabama, most of Tennessee, most of Kentucky, the southern regions there in Indiana, the southern regions of Illinois, and then the southern regions there of Missouri. All of these areas, again, are going to be experiencing conditions similar to the photos I shared in the beginning of the video. So again, just to reiterate, the conditions you could be experiencing if you're in these very bright yellows or even white shades, especially in the white shades, is low visibility. You're going to notice that there's a dusty haze in the sky, and you might have difficulties with your lungs where you're going to be feeling maybe scratchy throat type feeling from it. If you have asthma, maybe some agitation, and also if you have allergies, it could impact those as well, which I do suffer from allergies. So I'm preparing now that I might be dealing with allergies this weekend. All right, so let's go ahead and take it to about Saturday. Well, this is actually, you know what, this is probably about Friday at about 10 p.m. And as you can see, Texas, it's starting to finally lighten up. Also, if you notice, we're seeing areas like Oklahoma get some of that. Kansas, Missouri, it's starting to lighten up, as well as Illinois. But still, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, those two states now are completely taken over by it. We're seeing Ohio get some of that very dense areas. Even Cleveland, as far north as Cleveland and Detroit, you can see you're getting those kind of goldish yellow shades. That's where you're at about a moderate, I would say, a moderate amount of dust density there. But you can see states like West Virginia completely taken over. Now South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia are starting to get included in these yellow gold shades here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on where it's just going to reach even further east. It's finally going to reach the East Coast. We're going to talk about the last regions that are going to get impacted, and then we're going to start talking about when it's going to move out entirely from the United States. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys a brief tropical update as a bonus. All right, and here we are taking a look at Sunday kind of afternoon hours, probably about 1 p.m. here. You can see Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, all of those regions kind of in the south central United States. It's finally starting to lighten up. You're in the purples and maybe darker shades of yellow. So you're at a moderate amount of dust at most here by this point. Also, coastal Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, coastal Alabama, and then southern Georgia and all of Florida have completely lightened up by this point to where you're in the blues mostly. So for you guys, it's going to be mostly coming to an end. But northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and then northern South Carolina, it's still in those bright whites, which again, visibility issues, allergy issues, and asthma issues as well. Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, still dealing with, again, those very bright shades. West Virginia and North Carolina are entirely taken over by these bright white shades by this point. So it's going to be very intense amounts of dust here, probably borderline historic amounts of dust. I'm not familiar with, the dust events, from 50 or 100 years ago, but I would say this is the most dust we've seen in a very long time for most of these regions, and it's going to be extremely noticeable. Also, if you get pictures of these types of events, anything that you would think has to do with this dust, please DM it to me on Instagram. That's where we found the pictures from Angel Cruz here. So we're going to be dealing with this by that point. Let's take it to about 8 a.m. on Monday, and as you can see, the band of thick dust starts to really thin out. It's still in a lot of regions like Virginia, North Carolina by 8 a.m. on Monday, but really that area of dust is starting to shrink by this point. Then 8 a.m. Tuesday, you can see it is very much so shrinking there to where it's just like a thin little area there for Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and a bit of North Carolina. And then by the time we reach maybe, I would say 5 p.m. on Wednesday, you can see there's no whites anymore. There's only those gold shades maximum for some regions. And then this is the end of the run. By about 8 p.m. on Thursday, July 2nd, you can see there's some purple areas that kind of return for Texas and Oklahoma, but that's in a range where it's not going to be as noticeable. So that's not going to be major dust by any means anymore. So just to kind of recap, here's what the Atlantic was looking like by this Wednesday evening, which is going to be on June 24th here. So tons of those yellows and whites there for the entire Atlantic basin. Then by time we're reaching about 8 p.m. on Thursday, July 2nd, you can see that there's only purples and blues for some regions, which is going to be a much more subsided amount of dust by that point. Now, for that brief tropical update, because obviously with the dust kind of dissipating, we're going to have an open window for tropical activity. A lot of people were like, well, is this going to impact the hyperactive season you're calling for? Not at all. This is going to be maybe a 1-week event. And it's not going to impact the overall, hurricane season. If this was late August or maybe mid-August, early September, then we would be maybe looking at more impacts to the amount of storms that we would see in a season. But right now, we're not really expected to have storms this time of year yet anyway. All right, so here's June 22nd with that rising and sinking air motion. The reds and oranges is sinking air. The greens is rising air. And tropical activity occurs way more often in the rising air than it does in the sinking air. All right, and you can see for June 22nd, which is about the time I'm making this video, or actually it was yesterday from the time I'm making this video, we had sinking air throughout basically the entire Atlantic. But by the time we reach about June 28th, which is going to be kind of when the dust is at its peak over the United States and kind of starting to subside in the Atlantic, we're going to start to see rising air motion for the Gulf, the Caribbean, a lot of the Atlantic there. As you can see, the greens start to take over. I made a video about this like a week ago. And people were like, you can't forecast that far out. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, sure enough, we're starting to get closer, and it's looking more and more likely, just as I expected. By Tuesday, July 7th, which is when the dust will completely be subsided, we start to get into dark greens for the Gulf and the Caribbean. This is going to be an extremely favorable period here for maybe the last few days of June, the first week or two of July. I think we will have multiple tropical storms within that time frame, at least one, but it is possible that we will see even two or more with how favorable it's going to be and for how long. So we'll just have to really wait and see what happens with that. Obviously, this isn't a guarantee that you will see any tropical storms in the Atlantic, but if this is coupled with the less dry air, if we don't see the dust, then it's very likely that we will see development of some sort. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, when do you think the next tropical cyclone may hit the United States or be near the United States? And Stormy Ninja YT said, I think our next tropical cyclone, besides this disturbance that's in the Atlantic currently, which I made a video about yesterday, he said he thinks the next cyclone will move in once the dust moves out in early to mid-July, and I definitely agree. I also think this is a very appropriate comment for today's video, so thank you so much for the comment. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.